Yes. 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 We are the Andromedan Council of Light. And we are here in service to you all. We are very happy to bring you our version of the time-honored tradition of the bedtime story. We begin our tale at the beginning of young adulthood for two individuals who lived on the same island. The name of the island was Andara. The name of the two young adults were Mila, the female, and Dhiresh, the male. They did not know each other. They grew up in different parts of this island community. But at a young age, they both knew that they wanted to do something big. They knew that they wanted to help their fellow humanoids. And they chose professions that they thought would give them the opportunity to do so. Mila went into journalism. She wanted to tell stories of inspiration. She wanted to help uplift people with good news, and she wanted to expose what needed to be exposed so that it could be healed or changed. Dhiresh went in a different direction with his desire to be of service. He wanted to work as an energy healer. And so he got as many certifications and took as many courses and got as much training as he could. He could feel energy moving through him. He knew that he had the gift. But most people in that island community would go to a more traditional type of healer. One who would operate or use pharmaceuticals like the ones you have there on Earth to heal. There was not a huge calling for energy healers like Dhiresh, and so he did as much of that work as he could. He sought people out. He let people know that he had a gift and he wanted to share that gift. But he still had to derive most of his income from doing manual labor and never really felt that the work that he was doing was wanted or even needed. So he began to focus on working with the ley lines that existed on this planet. That they both lived on in the Andromedan star system. This beautiful planet of theirs was filled with ley lines and grids, and Dhiresh enjoyed very much working with the energies, doing everything that he could to infuse those energy lines with healing, love, and light. He spent almost every day tuning in to the healing energy that was available to him and projected it down into the soil of his planet. Now, Mila had gotten all of her schooling that she could get and wanted to do human interest stories for the news. It was a small island community, and there was really only one news outlet. She was able to get employment, but was unable to do the stories that she really wanted to do. She would take whatever stories that they gave her, however, and she would do her best to give them a positive and uplifting spin. She was not fulfilling her dream, however. She was not feeling as though she was living any sort of purpose or helping people in the way that she had always dreamed that she could. And so she found other ways to spread that positivity and hope. She would write about the people that inspired her. And she started her own journal about these people, hoping someday to interview them on air. This planet, as you may have guessed, was at a similar place where Earth is now, in terms of technology and in terms of the consciousness of the people. And so Mila and Dhiresh went through their lives, always looking for opportunities to help, always seeking the chance to make a difference wherever they could. Now, as I said, this planet was very similar to yours. And so, on a continent thousands of miles away from their island, there was an earthquake. And it was a big one. And wherever there was an earthquake of this magnitude, whenever the plates moved underneath the massive continent, the small island would be in a state of panic about the possibility of a tsunami. And this time was no different. The word got to the small island quickly, and people began to do what people do in these circumstances. They began to panic. Some people were able to get on flights, but there are only so many planes, so many vessels that they could take by sea and by air to get off of the island. And the rest of the people were stuck. They didn't know what to do. People tried to get as high up as they could. Other people had built shelters designed to enable them to live underground because of such an occurrence. But the vast majority of the people had no real relief from their feelings of impending doom. And there really was a tsunami coming in this case. And so the panic was justifiable. Now, Mila was called upon to do a story live near the coast where the tidal wave was certain to come in. And she was happy to do it because she knew that she would have an opportunity to soothe people, to perhaps get a message across that she wanted people to hear, a message of hope, a message of coming together as a community to work through whatever might come. And of course, the news division that she worked for wanted her to express her fear and panic, to look the part of the average person and what they were going through as the imminent tsunami was headed their way. But this was her opportunity. This was her chance to make a difference, and she did exactly what she wanted to do and said exactly what she wanted to say. Meanwhile, Dhiresh was thinking about what he could do to help, how he could perhaps energetically create something that would help people to get through this experience, to minimize the impact of the tidal wave. And so he began doing the thing that he would always do. He placed his hands on the ground. He opened himself up to the energy that he routinely tapped into. And he sent that energy down into the grid system, down into the ley lines. He knew exactly where to go to do this because he could feel them. He could feel their power and their potential. Mila noticed in the footage that she saw of herself reporting on the tsunami that there was a man in the background, not trying to get anyone's attention, not trying to just get on camera, but doing something that looked like it was important. And so she went back to that spot after looking at the footage that her camera crew had gotten of her reporting. And she saw Dhiresh there, working with energy to try to help. She got her camera crew to get back to work, and she grabbed her microphone and she went over to Dhiresh and she asked him if she could interrupt what he was doing to get a story, to get the word out to people about what he was doing. And Dhiresh was more than happy to comply. He talked about the type of work that he did and how he was sending energy down into the ley lines to see if he could do anything to help. to minimize the impact of the tsunami. And Mila saw the opportunity that was in front of her. And so she implored the people of the small island community to come to the shore. And to work with Dhiresh to help with this process, whatever it was. She appealed to the hearts of people. She asked people to go beyond their current beliefs about what was possible. She noted that this could only help, it couldn't possibly hurt those who were unable to find any sort of high ground or underground shelter. They might as well come together as a people to see what they could do to make a difference. And everyone was glued to their devices, and they saw the report. And soon there was a crowd standing around Dhiresh, asking him to show them what to do, how to help. And of course, Mila began reporting on this phenomenon of how people had come together. And she showed them smiling and looking hopeful. Dhiresh told people where to line up and what to do, how to put their hands on the ground and summon and access the energy that would hopefully do something. To minimize the size of the tsunami, to perhaps divert it in some way. He wasn't sure exactly what they were doing or how it would work, but he knew that there was something that could be done. And soon, most of the people who were still on land at sea level were coming, gathering together, learning from the people who had come before them exactly what was needed and exactly how they could help. Dhiresh was even given the ability to address the people with the technology that Mila and her crew had, to spread the word of exactly what they were doing and how. And that the goal was to divert or minimize their imminent tidal wave that was approaching. And so there were now thousands of people putting their hands on the ground, focusing on sending energy into this ley line and out towards the ocean. And the next thing that happened could be described as a miracle. It could be described as a coincidence. It could be described in any number of ways in between. But suddenly, the people of Andhra felt the ground shaking underneath them. They felt the tremors. And there was their planet's version of an earthquake happening on their little island. And it was strong, it was powerful. It shook a lot of homes into rubble. But the shock waves created by that quake were sent out into the ocean, creating a force, a wave that was now moving towards the original wave. And still hundreds of miles from the shore of this tiny island, these waves hit. They collided. The destructive force that was headed towards Andhra was gone. It had been countered by a force of equal strength, equal magnitude. It had been taken down by hope. It had been taken down by community, by people coming together in huge numbers to work together, to believe in something that was unbelievable, something that they could not explain, and certainly would not want to replicate. And so there was a great deal of joy as the helicopters that were following the path of the tsunami came back to the island, landed on the soil, and told the people what had happened, what an absolutely unbelievable occurrence it was. How, if they hadn't seen it, they wouldn't have believed that it was true, that it was possible. And the people of this small island celebrated. They danced, they sang, they ate and drank. And in the coming weeks and months, they worked together as a community to rebuild the homes, the hospitals, the schools, all of the buildings that had been damaged by their self-made quake. And there was so much love shared, so much compassion for those who had been injured. And there was an acknowledgement on the part of every single person that what had happened was far better than what was going to happen if they had done nothing. Now, Mila became a hero and could pick and choose the stories she wanted to do and how she wanted to do them. The event changed her life for the better forever. Dhiresh had an immensely successful healing practice from that day forward. The community even got together and built a healing center where he could teach classes, where they could gather and meditate, do circles of healing, and where people could just go when they needed a break from life, when they needed to chill out. And eventually Dhiresh and Mila started to see each other socially and then romantically. They got together, they created new life. They had children. And their children knew of the miracle day that brought their parents together. Their children were raised knowing that miracles were real and that people had the power within them to change anything. No matter how daunting the impending doom seemed that loomed so large in their lives. And that entire generation that grew up with Dhiresh and Mila's children felt the same way, knowing that their parents had contributed to creating this miracle, that they were blessed to be able to live on that island, to have such a strong community, and to have the power to change whatever reality was in front of them. And so the people of that tiny island lived generation after generation in that same vibration of empowerment, community, and love. And that is the end of our bedtime story. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we hope that you will have sweet and pleasant dreams if you are about to drift off to sleep. We are the Andromedan Council of Light, and this has been a pleasure for us. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment on this video.